Ihr seht und hört einen Podcast von Future of Festivals, dem Branchentreffen für alle VeranstalterInnen, DienstleisterInnen, EntscheiderInnen und Auszubildende aus dem Festivalbereich. Unsere nächste Veranstaltung findet vom Mittwoch, dem 25. bis Donnerstag, dem 26. November 2026 in der Station Berlin statt. Kommt vorbei, wir freuen uns auf euch. Aber jetzt erstmal viel Spaß mit der Aufnahme.
You want to have. So now let me introduce you to our panel. With us here today is Vivian Hunter. She's from Ultra Music Festival and Ascendance Sustainable Events. She and her company develop sustainability programs for events. Also with us is Maarten van Denderen. He's the founder of No Risk and insurance specialist in events and music industry. And Guy Watkins, head of commercial strategy in Europe, Middle East and Africa of PMY Group. He can tell us a lot about AI tools, I hope, and tell us about how we can manage to make events or festivals safe for crowds. This panel will be hosted by Linnea Swanson. She's a sustainability consultant. She's an author of multiple guides for sustainability, and she's co-founder of Green Operations and Greener Events. Please welcome our last panel for today.
Thank you.
And with that, I'm off stage and I'll leave you to it. Nature doesn't read your running order. There you go.
Thank you so much, Sophie, and thanks to all of you who decided to spend your last session with us here. Hopefully not in total. We are sharing an hour of discussing a bit of a dystopic topic with you. And I hope you hear okay. Is it?
Testing.
Yeah. We will manage. So, although it's kind of a happy hour around us, we are being more dystopic, but it's water still. Sophie just mentioned Wacken, and the Wacken Open Air had to ask the visitors to leave their cars at home due to bad weather. They also had to leave their cars in total. They have to close down the whole festival some years ago. And this year it rained a lot again. Did anyone attend Wacken? Anyone from Wacken? No? This year it was the same, but they were more prepared. And today we will share some more thoughts and experience on how to prepare yourself for what is happening more and more often. Another side of the coin is drought and wildfires. This is from LA, which we saw the devastating wildfire really getting totally out of hand earlier this year. And I know you guys have some experience with this already. We had a fire on a car park at a Portuguese festival some years ago where multiple cars burnt completely, and it did not spread, but Coachella has been in the outskirts of a wildfire, and this is something that we are all in some areas more exposed to. And then we have wind. Pohuda had some in Slovakia, had some devastating winds that even had some severe casualties, unfortunately. I don't know if anyone from Pohuda is here. I saw one earlier today. And I know that there are more information in the audience if we want to go into that, but it's really devastating, it's scary to be an organizer. We say that organizing festivals is like a risk sport, but now it's becoming really, really severe, and it's almost so scary that you don't even know if you want to go into it. But with me today, I have some very brave and solution-oriented people, and I'm really curious although we are in the midst of some really high noise here, to share some experience and insights on how to solve this hard topic. So first, I would like to give the word to Vivian. Do you want to show us something from Ultra Music Festival? You work as a consultant also on sustainability. You work with many events in the US mainly, and you've been the sustainability director for Ultra Music throughout some time. I don't know, who saw Vivian speak earlier today?
Some people.
Some did? Yeah? Okay.
Awesome. Yes, hi everyone. I'm Vivian Hunter. I'm the founder of Ascendance Sustainable Events. So yes, we do other festivals, conferences, food events, all sorts of anybody who wants to be sustainable, we're happy to help with. But yes, at Ultra, I'm the sustainability director, which means that when it comes to weather, we're really focused on protecting the park. We have a whole team that is focused on safety and security for our attendees, and we really work hand in hand with them. But yeah, I think I was invited to this panel because for the last 2 years, Ultra has had weather-related interruptions, and somehow these have been covered globally by the media. It's so funny. I can't get them to cover my sustainability program, but we get a little rain and everybody freaks out. It's Florida. We get rain like that all the time, but indeed, it was more than a little bit of rain. It was severe flooding. We had a full evacuation 2 years ago. Last year, we had a show stop, a work stop, and a seek shelter notice for our attendees, but we luckily didn't have to evacuate. But yeah, everything worked out fine. Everybody was very well behaved, surprisingly. It was, our attendees were patient with us. They came back in ready to party after the event, or after the rain. And we were able to make this video, so let me share that.
Work it, make it, do it, makes us.
Breaking news, we are just learning that Ultra Music Festival has been shut down.
Harder, better, faster, stronger.
Rain not stopping crowds from gathering.
They don't care about that.
A little rain never stopped no party.
Too much rain in the mixer. The mixer stopped.
So happy, but still,
Yeah.
you know.
Even sexy. How does Ultra make rain sexy? It's funny. But yeah, like I said, everybody made it out safely, and I think that was really due to, you know, some really great planning, some amazing professionals that we have on our team, and yeah, we made what we could of it.
Thank you for sharing. Oliver,
Hello.
you don't organize festivals, but you help festivals. Do you want to share a bit how you do that and how you help festivals preparing for extreme weather and other conditions?
Yeah, sure. So PMY is a technology company, and we are essentially involved in collating data for various different purposes across event sites. That varies a lot of the time. Sometimes it's brand activations, people movement, security, and one of those factors we're looking at the moment and we're working on is predictive effects on the site from weather events. So how you can be a bit more ahead of the game, looking at traffic incoming to the site, how weather will affect that, etc., etc. Yeah.
Did you hear him?
Can you hear me?
You have to bring
I have
up
to
your
do it a
microphone.
bit. Okay.
And then Vivian
Eat the
will
mic.
give you the clicker so you can show.
Ah, yeah. Okay. That's not me. I wouldn't mind being there. But
Do you have still something
that's
to say,
also
Vivian?
not me.
Okay.
Maybe that is.
Later.
You said jokes, right? This one. Let's go with this one.
Twice.
There we go. I think the purpose of showing this video and the reason it's good to talk to is that we're in quite a unique position as a technology-based company where the clients that we work with, we do the service level of deployment. We then do an intelligent level of deployment to collect data, and we use that in an operational capacity, but also in an experience capacity. So the forward-facing fan presentation also comes from us and with that data source at the same time.
Sounds intensive, but how
Yes, good point.
do you work with all of Europe, the whole world? Where are you based?
Yeah, we're a global company. Our head office is in Melbourne. We have offices in the US, in LA and New York, and then in the UK, in London, and Amsterdam and Berlin in Europe.
Great. So we will hear a bit more about the technology solutions that you offer in a bit. But first, I'd like to hear from our last participant, Maarten. You work with insurance,
Yeah,
and
I'm
it's
sorry.
called No Risk. Please explain.
Yes, we help organizers to ensure their events. So as you can imagine, they're facing a lot of risks. And we were trying to make sure that they have the right policy that fits their needs. So we don't work for insurance companies, we're the good guys. We make sure that you're well taken care of, and if there is a claim, that we will make sure that you will actually get your money from the insurance companies.
Okay, so you're on the festival side, helping
Festival,
navigate.
concerts and movies, that's basically what we do.
So you help navigate in this jungle of insurance companies and the regulations and...
Yeah, we designed our own policy with the experience we've had over the last 15 years. So everything that we have seen, we built into our own wording to make sure that it will fit the needs, and it's designed from a client perspective instead of from an insurance company perspective. So sometimes it's quite difficult to have the negotiations with these underwriters. But yeah, so far so good. We managed to get our own wording in to make sure that we work on the needs of our clients.
Amazing. And which kinds of clients do you have? Do we know any of the festivals, do you think, that you work with?
Yeah, probably the people from the Netherlands know them, but also in the rest of Europe. I think in the Netherlands we have around 75% market share, and that goes like really small events to the big events like Lowlands, Pink Pop, Defcon, stuff like that. But also Ziget Festival in the Nordics, Spain, even in China.
Wow.
So we work globally as well.
And how do you see extreme weather being a smaller or a bigger part of the insurance cases?
Yeah, what do you think?
You tell me.
We started like 15 years ago, and I think for the first 8-9 years, we didn't saw really at first weather claims coming in. Sometimes there was just a small extra cost to make sure that the event will happen. But after 8-9 years, it was picking up. We saw a big change. And I think it's also the organizers are seeing these changes. So they are more into the risk profile for their festival. So they look at the venue, they look at the statues they've built, the books that you get from the tent suppliers, for example. It's really detailed how much wind they can pick up, or they really know what kind of soil they're on to make sure that they can have the right preparation when it comes to
So
a lot of rain.
you advise and help with the preparation work, what they should ask from their suppliers?
I think we share our experience that we've had with other events, because every venue is different. So you need to know what type of ground you're in. Is it a lot of sand, or how can you mitigate the risk of a lot of rain, for example? And if it is highly affected by wind or thunderstorms, and then we point out what they should look into. But most of the time they already know it, and probably a lot of the times they know it better than we do. It's only more that we make sure that their plans are presented to the underwriters as well, because it will affect the insurability of your event.
Yeah. So what are the most frequent extreme weather?
Yeah, it's definitely wind. Wind is always the biggest problem because of the stages that have been built, and thunderstorms. Last year we had 2024 in the Netherlands, and not only in the Netherlands, also in other parts of Europe, a lot of water, a lot of rain. But that was actually one of the first years that rain was a major issue for all of these events. So you see that it is changing over the years. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Thanks. How many of you are representing festivals? Up. Long arm. It's nice to have a stretch. Do you all have insurance for weather? Do you know? Yeah, so a couple. So there is a market here. It's good to do markets. Any other questions you want to ask now? Yeah, so what we are now discussing, Vivian, you had a talk earlier which was a lot about mitigating climate change, like all of the things you can do to mitigate the climate change. But we are now having this dystopian talk about how we can adapt to the climate change. And I just attended a climate conference in Oslo, where I live, yesterday, and the scientists from Bloomberg shared with us that we're heading towards 2.5 to 2.7 degrees, maybe even 3.5 degrees. And we are still able to keep it below two.
That was the worst timing for that.
I
cheer.
know. It's getting hot in here. We're still able to keep it below 2 degrees, maybe, if we, do what we can. But we also have to adopt. So I'm thinking, how do you feel in all of this? I mean, I heard you share your experience and what you do. You also had some couple of pictures in the presentation sharing what you do with the drains, for instance. But how do you plan to adapt for this extreme weather?
Yeah, it's such a difficult question because to your point, it's like we don't know which one we're going to get hit with, right? Like at least in Florida, we can be pretty sure it's not a wildfire because it's a swamp. But we don't know if it's going to be wind, rain, both. We're right on the water in the park that we're in. That was that beautiful picture that I had. So one of the main things that we've been doing is trying to protect our waterways. That to me is just something that's near and dear to my heart. I want to make sure that our waterways are not impacted or heavily impacted by the activities that we have happening at our events. So that's one thing. Ultra has changed venues in the past. They haven't liked it. They don't want to. It's very, very difficult to do. But it's something that might have to be considered in some future if we're flooding every year. There's so many things that can be done in a more proactive way as well. And that's some of the things that we work on in our ability to protect the grounds in the park, the wildlife, the vegetation that's there, and those waterways.
So when you're working as a sustainability director, how closely do you work with security planning and the different departments in the festival organization?
Yeah, we are hand in hand with every interdepartmental team. Security is one of the main ones that we have a lot of interaction with because they're so widespread around the festival. It really helps to have eyes and ears looking out for not just safety concerns but also environmental concerns. And there's ways that those cross over, right? For example, the main one that we're always looking for is people who are climbing trees. And it's like, that's a safety concern and it's an environmental concern. So there are a lot of ways that we interact. We make sure that our security team understands all of the things that we're looking out for, and that any way that we can support them, we do that as well. So, for example, we make signage, educational signage, or kind of safety signage to make sure that certain areas that might be both a safety and environmental concern get roped off, or just at least have some warning signs. Yeah, there's all sorts of ways that there's crossover.
Yeah, and you might share some more ideas later on. But listening to this, Oliver, how can technology help us understand how we can make more secure, more safe festivals when we have this extreme weather? How can we prepare ourselves?
I think the key word that you say is predictive. And at the moment, we have just moved to a point where technology has moved into real time quite actively. Maybe 2-3 years ago, it was a buzzword, but it wasn't really hitting the mark all the time. Nowadays, it is very possible, and the systems have matured, and that means we get into a space where we can be predictive. So I think that's what's really exciting right now. I'm going to play a video in a second just to show some of the systems that are usable. But I will caveat before I say this that a lot of the technology has been developed in the sports world. So some of the stuff we will look at will be referring to arenas and stadiums. But we are now deploying that in music festivals. And this year we've just done something with Awakenings at Amsterdam Dance Event a couple of weeks ago. And over the summer, we worked with AEG and LS in All Points East in London to get some crowd intelligence work as well. So we are now entering that space well, and it's working in greenfield sites as well.
So you offer multiple technology insights, basically.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And if it's okay, I'll just play this through.
Hello.
Hello.
The next.
Did that? Oh, hold on. Here we go. Oh, no. Is that playing now? Yeah, okay. So this is the US Open court occupancy counts. This is AI working over cameras to register how many people are in the arena and where they're sat and how long they stay in the spaces for. These are the dashboards that come through to the event control situation. And essentially you can choose what you're looking at block by block, row by row, seat by seat. This is LiDAR tracking, and this is in a lot of spaces that we've now started to move into music festivals with. And this allows the beam coming from these devices recognizes head and shoulders of people, and it geotags them. You can see these dots moving through this space. And that is the LiDAR following people for dwell time, for flow rate, and to work out how the environment is being used, producing heat mapping, which you can see there. This is a New Jersey metro system in the US, and this is the LiDAR exists on the trains and on the concourse around, and this is where we start to get predictive. So you can start to see how people will move towards the site, towards the precinct and around the precinct. And this allows you to collate this with weather data and start to build in how those models work in different environments and different situations. So if there's storms, if there's heavy rain, if there's high winds, you are able to divert your attendees in certain directions. We have now built this with traffic as well, so this allows you to see how traffic is flowing up to 20, 30, 40, 50 kilometers away from the site. And and this is one of the issues I know Wacken had in 2023, that essentially the vehicles got caught, and that's what made them have to shut the site. We're working with organizers to be predictive, where they can have holding areas at certain points into the site should heavy rain or should there be some kind of weather event that means that needs to happen. And then the technology now, what we're working on is that these AI over cameras and the LiDAR could be installed into drones, and you can start to survey the sites before they're active to see which areas of the sites are likely to flood or likely to be hit by different weather conditions, meaning when that condition comes in, you can take that area of the site out from play, or you can divert people into other patterns, essentially. Sorry, I know that video is quite fast. I didn't realize how fast it was until I talked to it then. But yeah.
It's all right. I think, Vivian, listening to this, do you think it's a tool? You probably know which area which will flood, don't you?
Yeah, well, we've learned
All of it.
We've learned the hard way, right? The last 2 years, and that actually helped us be proactive this year. You know, the 2 years ago really showed us, okay, these are the hot spots. These are where we can control it. These are where we can't. So yeah, we know because our venue repeats, and so you know, as long as we don't move, we can be predictive about it and just be prepared.
Yeah. Maarten, do you think technical tools like this could help festivals developing better security plans and better documents for the underwriters? And what kind of opportunities do you see?
Yeah, well, definitely, because especially when you have a lot of really, they agree with me. If you have a really big venue, then it's really nice to know, for example, which parts of the venue are highly, they have a highly risk profile for flooding, for example. And if it's different types of soil, then you need to know how to prepare. And I think these kind of programs will help. And I was wondering if your program also has these kind of features that will predict the amount of rainfall within a certain period. So, for example, if you take 6 to 8 weeks prior the event, until the event date, how big are the chances that you have a certain amount of millimeters of rain in that particular period of the year? Because that tells you something about the history and what you might predict. And probably it's going to be worse within the future, but it tells you something if you could compare it to other parts of the country to understand what's happening.
It's really interesting, and the honest answer is that the richer the data, the better the picture, right?
Sorry?
And the richer the data, the better the picture. Yeah. So all that data is available, like rainfall over periods of time in X location, that data can be found. And the question is just, who do you want to see it? And if you want to see it, then we can put it into these systems. So it's just about, we're all in a position now where certain APIs can be flown into these dashboards. You can take ticketing APIs, POS APIs, weather APIs are no different, Google Maps APIs are no different, Waze APIs are no different. You just need access to these things, and then it helps you build a richer picture that can give you exactly what you just said. So
the reason I'm asking is because if you have in 10 days like 100 millimeters of rain, that's a lot, I know, but just for an example, if it's 10 millimeters a day, then it's quite it's more easy to mitigate that risk. Instead, if you have 3 days with 30 millimeters a day, then you have another issue. So that kind of data would help if this is an area that you have a lot of rainfall on one day, instead of if it's more spread out in a month or so.
Yeah, so it means you need to plan in different ways for different
for
happenings.
example, here in Germany, you have certain venues that are commonly used for events, and they are highly at risk for thunderstorms, for example. But you need to know in which month it's more likely to have this thunderstorm, so that these kind of data will help you to prepare what to do.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm thinking, as a festival organizer, I would feel a bit overwhelmed getting the opportunity to get all of this insights. Do you feel what I'm saying, festival organizers? So who should deal with this? You know, do you have some ideas, Vivian, or all of you? Who are the responsible, you know, parties in the festival organization, and how should the festival organization be rigged to be able to take in and act on all of this information? Vivian, first.
Yeah, I can't think of a team that isn't impacted by events like this, right? Like, our technology team, obviously, our safety and security team, my team, our operations team, everybody who's running around with equipment that can be damaged, AV. It's like, I really can't think of a single team that isn't impacted. But certainly the safety and security team is the one that is most impacted and is most paying attention to this information. At Ultra, we have what we call a unified command center. So that means that our safety and security team is kind of at the helm, but then we have a representative from police, a representative from fire. We even have a meteorologist from the National Weather Systems. We have anybody who is a stakeholder and a partner in executing our safety and security plan kind of lives together in this unified command center in order to be able to, consult with each other, react quickly, and implement the plans that they've put in place together.
Oliver, do you find festival organizations readily available and open to the information that you have? Do you think they are prepared enough in their organization-wise?
Some. Where we have the most success is where, as you just said, we have full buy-in from different teams. So, for example, at the US Open, we have a C-suite briefing and a department briefing every morning with the previous day's data. And during the day, we will then meet each department individually to activate that data and ensure that it's flowing. Because you can have all the data in the world and you can have every piece of information you want, but if you don't use it, then it's absolutely useless. And the reality is you need people to buy into that to actually make it work in any context. And this topic we're talking about is no different. So, yeah, I think you can collect the rain data over periods of time over a specific piece of land. You can give that to a festival organizer, but in reality, they might not want to move it 2 weeks from when it usually is just because the weather data says every year on those 2 weekends it's rained, because you guarantee that next year it won't rain on that weekend,
No,
So,
and probably they can't move it, but it's like that you need to be prepared and to know what kind of mitigations you can do to make sure that your event will go on. So you need to be prepared for all these type of risks that are plausible for your event. That's basically what you're trying to do.
yeah, of course.
But Maarten, do you think the festivals that do you think they're prepared enough to, adapt to this information that is out there?
Yeah, I think most of them are so professional that they need to know what to do, and they have to, because otherwise, well, they won't survive. So, and when you look at the Netherlands, for example, there's so much competition. So if you don't have an event that is really comfortable for your audience, then they can choose another festival in the same weekend if they like. So that makes sure that you have to, but also if you don't have that much competition, you still need to work it out, because otherwise the event got cancelled and you don't make any money.
Good point. Very good. So I'm still curious to dive a bit more into the challenges that we face with this. And one thing is the technology and adapting to all of the information that we get from the technology. But I'm thinking also about the site layout. Have you changed or made changes, or do you have suggestions, Vivian, on how to plan your site in a better way?
We have, yeah, certainly. So that first year that we had really bad flooding. We had, for example, all of our art, like kind of live art displays were in this area that got really heavily flooded. So this last year, they actually elevated them and put them on, like raised platforms. And it was funny because then when it rained again, there were like islands in this lake, essentially. But it looked really nice, and actually the art, like all this colorful art, was like reflecting on the water. We had a lake. I mean, it was crazy. But certainly all of the emergency planning tries to route around those areas. Electrical routes around those areas. That was another huge concern we had. All these electrical wires running from generators and running to stages. Sitting under 2 feet of water was certainly a scary thing to have. So that was something else that got elevated or protected better in the second year. Again, luckily no one got hurt. We had a great team in place, great speed on the reactions. But yeah, there's definitely been changes to the site.
Do you see any needs to improve site plans, Oliver? Or are you involved in that too?
Yeah, I mean, we are one of the use cases, well, the biggest use case that we have in festivals this summer has been to advise on site layout using the LiDAR data. And that is largely about people movement, but we talked about it earlier actually. One of the events that we worked at this summer had a heat warning on it, and there was a dust problem, and there was actually a fire warning around the area, although nothing happened, thankfully, but there was a dry weather warning. And part of the review of the data that we've sent back has involved discussing whether the dust or the environment actually affected the movement of people during that time as well, because the area we were tracking was actually the main walkthrough between the 2 main stages. So I have an amazing soundtrack. I feel like like a hippo moving or something,
My goodness. Maarten, do you see opportunities at festivals to improve their site layouts to avoid getting the need of your services, so to speak?
Well, as I said, to be honest, I think they're already on top of things. And I think one thing we should keep in mind, that this is not the only head-breaking stuff they have to deal with. So all the costs are increasing, and you need to make sure that you're prepared in production for this, and this will cost a lot of money as well. So I think it's always finding a balance. But at this point, I think the festivals we just talked about, they are doing everything they can at this point.
And as you say, there are some investments having to be done here. Not to speak of the technology, it's not a free service. So Vivian, have you had to invest a lot in new equipment or new planning or new tools to adapt?
Absolutely, yeah. That was one of the
Can you give some
pictures.
examples?
Yeah. Let's see. All right, so these are a lot less sexy than the video, but these are our storm drain protections. And so there's 3 types that you see here. The ones that we use most typically are the ones on the left. Is the storm drain filters. So this just captures litter and solids so that the storm drain itself doesn't get clogged, and so that it also prevents pollution. If there's small plastics and things that are just littered throughout the site and they start to move with water, then this catches it but still allows the water to move through. The other one is a full block, so that we call these socks, and they just at least block all of that stuff from staying on the outside but let the water still keep moving. And then the ones on the right are the ones that I'm hoping to start investing in. These are more permanent installed storm drain protections. So these are actually like a catch basin that allows the water to continue flowing through in the same way. But requires a little bit more maintenance, but at least it's something that we invest in once and can continue using year after year. So yeah, there's these, and of course there's all sorts of rain gear that we've had to get. There's plans that we've had to put in place. For example, for spills, we have to have spill kits available throughout the site. So we definitely want to make sure, like, that's the reason, you know, a spill can get more severe is if it gets spilled and then rain comes and starts to move it around, and especially if it's a hazardous fluid, can get into the waterways.
But do you also get support investing in, again, there's a cost. Do you get support from the city or from other stakeholders?
I wish. Yeah, we've talked to the city many times about putting the more permanent storm drain filters in, and they've been investing in this as we are. They've been investing in this in other areas of the city where they're more needed. So it's a plan eventually, but we try to hurry them along and say that, hey, we really need them here. So hopefully it can be a partnership, but if not, we look at it as a legacy investment that we can make on behalf of Ultra to the park.
I feel like I just want to invite all of the room up here to stage. Do you hear us at all? Yeah? Okay. Good. Maarten, do you see stakeholders that should be more involved?
Yeah, I think the collaboration with local authorities, that's something you could invest in, because sometimes we see that the promoter is really in charge and really on top of things, know what to do, know to handle these risks, and then the local authorities are a bit concerned because they have a lack of knowledge. So I think the collaboration between those two is really important, and that could help you to save you from a cancellation. We have seen several examples which the local authorities said we can't have this event anymore, but together with the promoter and the safety instructors, it was all under control. So it was definitely not necessary to cancel this event.
Yeah.
But still they are canceling.
So bad communication kind of trips you.
Yeah, it's not only bad communication, it's more that the local government should put some trust in you if they don't have the knowledge. And that's something you need to discuss up front, not if you are in a situation that they need to be involved. So before you are in that kind of situation, you need to understand what's happening.
This is also very good relationship advice, by the way. Yeah, so a lot of the technology that you showed us, a lot of the information is you wouldn't get without having collaborations with external stakeholders. How do you see the stakeholder cooperation? How important is that with the insights you are offering?
Yeah, the whole, there's no pressure there. The whole situation relies on people buying into it, and that involves local councils as well. So we've been talking in the Netherlands with the site that DEFCON and Lowlands are on, but that involves the municipality being involved in that conversation, and potentially it's the municipality's responsibility to install the technology that can track the traffic around the site, or that can track the weather involvement in that period. And then, especially when you're leasing a land to maybe 3 or 4 events per year, then it becomes much more accessible to the organizers at that point.
Yeah, and DEFCON, for example, is a really good example, but also kind of difficult for every event to do it like that, because they have one control room with all these services are in it, so they are operating as a team, as a whole, instead of working besides each other.
Yeah, I think, look, the reality is that I've worked on the ground in festivals for 15 years. We have guys that run Glastonbury, network infrastructure. We have the guys that do Boomtown. Like our festival portfolio is pretty large, and we have a lot of experience of working with those different stakeholders, which puts us in a position to, we know what those guys need, so we're able to have conversations that are a lot more honest than maybe other companies in that scenario.
So you help the festival organizer actually becoming more trustworthy in a way, and that's an opportunity to connect closer to the council maybe and avoid being cancelled or.
Those feel like big words to commit to, but yes, that's the ideal is, and you can say if the data is rich, you're empowering the conversation, right? So, and that comes from every stakeholder in that conversation. Yeah, and it can be rich without being intrusive as well. I think that's the other important thing to say.
Yeah, and then you just have to have a staff that knows how to deal with it and coordinates internally. Do you think cities or municipalities should invest more in events, Vivian? Obviously, you said.
Yes, please.
What do you miss?
I'm sorry?
What do you miss? Like, what kind of investment would you have needed?
Oh my goodness. Well, the storm drain protections are the ones that I've been asking for as long as I can remember, and we haven't gotten. But yeah, there's so much, of course, in terms of data and just like understanding the space. Like, you know, Ultra happens in Bayfront Park, which is right there. Let's see this beautiful. Oh, we don't have it anymore, but here we go. So yeah, this is where our venue is. It's a beautiful, huge city park right on the bay. And so I wish we actually had more research and more information about these places. Only recently was I able to get a proper tree survey, for example, something that told me every single tree in the park, what the species is, whether or not it's native, whether or not it needs to be protective, what state is it in, is it dangerous for attendees, you know, to be around it. We've had several, because of the storms, we've had several trees just fully fail and collapse on the site. Thank goodness no one was hurt. So it's things like that, like information, you know, and like we're talking about, that I wish I had more of, because then I wouldn't have to start from scratch. When we started to figure out that we wanted to protect the storm drains, I couldn't get even the information of how many storm drains were in the park. We had to go and count them, follow the line, and, you know, take pictures of all of them and be the first ones to, you know, note all of this information. So, you know, sometimes I wish that they had more of that to give us rather than having to do that. But yeah, there's certainly, I could make you a laundry list worth of things that I can ask for.
So I guess it's about, I guess this is not very unique, unfortunately, but so it's also the opportunity with this data and insights and working with insurance companies to actually building a case towards the municipality to show them what you already invest, what your economic ripple effects are for the local community, and how you can work alongside each other to create even bigger revenue for the city. Having technology, but also the support of trustworthy partners like insurance is probably maybe an opportunity also to get more support.
Right, and I think you mentioned before, it's like if we look at it across the cost across several events and across, you know, all the different users of the park, then it feels like an investment that makes more sense instead of it being something that feels like, oh, it's only them that's investing in it. You know, we're willing to certainly put our piece of the pie in as well, but yeah, it requires movement on their part, which is sometimes painfully slow.
Yeah. I'm wondering, are there anyone in the audience that have questions or something to share, or who experienced something, or who are in need of insurance or technology or sustainability advice? Oh, over here. Thank you. Tell us your name, where you're from.
I am Zoe from LS Events. We operate in London, so we operate a number of music festivals in the UK. I was just interested in some of the data collected. I work with brand partners, and I just wondered if the weather data that you collect with the technology that you offer, whether that could be linked into some of the information that our partners at festivals are looking for as well, whether they can be linked for a sort of a wider report?
It's a very good question. The reality that we've all talked about is that the technology is not cheap, and it's got to be paid for by a lot of different stakeholders being involved in that. And I think the brand partner conversation is the really key one in that right now as well, because brands need the data out of the events to clarify what they are getting back for their investment. And at the same time, we can help the organizers by using that data to price brand activation pitches, or this is slightly off topic, but when you bring the weather data into that as well, you start to be able to say, actually, only 3,000 people engaged with this brand's activation over the course of the day, and we can see that an hour and a half of that, the site was affected by a thunderstorm, or we can see that this environment, we talked about the dust earlier, that's something that we've experienced this summer as well, right? So, yeah, you can start to factor that in, and it builds a bigger picture for your brand that you're reporting back to at that point. And I think, again, it's very easy to just say, yeah, 10,000 people saw this brand's logo and interacted with it during the show. But once you start to build in the small pieces and the rich piece of the data, you can really give a much better picture and keep the loyal relationship that you have in that area as well.
Lovely. Thank you. Really interesting.
Thank you. Anyone else? Then our time together is about to come to an end, but before that, I would love to hear some more advice from you. You already shared lots of advice. Maarten, what are some good tips for a festival organizer who want to be prepared for extreme weather conditions?
Yeah, I think we said a lot already, so I don't have really much to add onto it. I think I would advise organizers to use systems like Oliver has. I think that will help you to get insights that you don't really have at this point. I think data will help, and try to predict from the data what kind of plausible weather effects you might face. I think that's the...
Thank you. Oliver, what kind of advice do you have?
What Maarten said. No. No, but actually you made me think of something really interesting then, because the larger conversation is, yes, degrees are going up. We're facing a situation that there's a lot of policy that's not going the way we would probably like it to go in this conversation. And potentially this data is also very valuable in that conversation. So potentially the use cases, the more festivals that collect this kind of data, the more that can be used in lobbying cases, and the more that potentially we can have a better conversation. That's a bigger picture though.
That's a big picture. Vivian, can we still organize festivals?
We can.
Yes.
I think, like we talked about in being predictive and also being proactive, right? I think being proactive with more than enough time in advance really just gives you the ability to not just be sustainable, but be resilient to thrive in these scenarios. You know, we can expect, we must expect challenges, and we expect the unexpected, right? So I just think that if we're looking into how to still have these festivals, it's so much about the preparation and about knowing that these things are coming and having everything you need in case they do. If you don't use it, great, save it for next year. But yeah, that's what, for my team, allows us to not only survive, it allows us to thrive, right? Like, you know, we kind of get high when we figured out something, we predicted something was going to happen, and we, had that thing already prepared. We already had that plan in place. We were like, ooh, it feels good. It feels good to know that we already have those things on hand. We don't have to enter into panic mode. We just enter into implementation mode.
I think it's amazing how festival organizers make risk assessment really something fun, So thank you for sharing that joy of risk assessments. Also, I have a great positive note that Europe, the European Festival Organization, will launch extreme weather toolkit. Sounds like a box with lots of extreme weather in it, but it's actually a toolkit on how to cope with extreme weather, and it will be launched within the next few weeks. It's a part of the Future Fit Festival program, so make sure to check that out if you are interested and nervous about what's going on. I think, at least I am, although this is a very dystopian topic, I feel much more secure knowing that there are people who would help with insurance, people who would help with planning, and people who will help with technology and insights. So thank you so much, Oliver, Vivian, and Maarten, for having this conversation with me. And thank you for listening to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. That was the last panel. Thanks a lot.